right, welcome to episode 92 of the Slip and Weed podcast. I'm here with the co-host of the Bigs versus Bigs podcast, Justin Biggs. Justin, thank you for coming on today.
What's up, man? Dakota, thank you for having me, man. This is we're gonna have a good time talking boxing, man. I'm excited. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on, bro. Just do me a favor, introduce yourself, let the people know who you are, what you do, accolades, accomplishments, all the da-da-da-da.
Yo, listen, this is Justin Big Time Biggs. I'm the host of the Bigs versus Big podcast. I'm also a professional boxer, 8-0, 6 knockouts, and I'm here on the podcast to talk to you guys about all boxing news, man. I'm excited.
So, are you currently still fighting?
Yeah. So I had two shoulder surgeries that had me out for a while, and I'm actually scheduled to fight in April 29th. So yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Congratulations. I know it's been like a couple of years, no?
Yeah. It's been a while, man. It's been a while, but we were back in action. Got some sparring in 2 days ago. I feel feeling really good.
Shoulder injuries are tough, bro, especially with boxing. Bro, I literally popped my shoulder out throwing a jab, and it was like one of the most painful things I've ever experienced.
Dang, man. Dang. I'm so mine was in training, and it just was something gradual. And I was like, okay, this is burning today, and all of a sudden, it just progressively got worse. And I was like, listen, I got to get this surgery. So happy I did so.
Yeah, bro, and the surgery holds because I had surgery on my shit and it held great. Talk to me about the story or the background for you and your brother starting your own show. Obviously, you already are professional fighters, so you got plenty on your plate. What was the inspiration or the idea for you guys to start doing your own show?
Man, I think it just really started from our dad, man. Dad passed away 2015. He got us into the sport. We grew up in it, man. We just love being around it. And I tell people, I say, like, I knew who, Zab Judah was before I knew who Kobe Bryant was. So that was just like boxing was just my sport, man. And I had an opportunity where one of my guys, JJ West, he was like, yo, man, I love what you guys are doing with the boxing stuff. You guys talk boxing so well. I want to set up a meeting. And, he did. And we ended up pitching the show idea, and they loved it. And, my big brother, Aaron Freeman, we facilitated it, and we had the show, Bigs versus Bigs.
Talk to me a little bit, too, about, like, because I've interviewed certain fighters, right, where they're so in what they're doing that they're not as aware of what's going on in the rest of the sport. Like, they're just in the gym. They know the guys that are in their gym. They're not following, the rest of the sport. Talk to me about that. Were you guys always just huge fans and it was like all the fights were on?
Yeah. It's to me, certain people have certain, IQs as fighters. I mean, if you don't watch other boxing, you're not going to pick up certain things, So for me, it's like this. If I'm not watching boxing, that means there's a fighter. I'm not watching my competition. So anywhere around it, the weight classes, a guy can go down, a guy can come up. I can pick up a move from watching a smaller fighter. The undercards, everything that's going on, I always watch in order to learn. So if I'm not learning, that means that my coach is learning for me. So he should be watching Fox and go, hey, look, let's try this uppercut combination or whatever it is. So some fighters just rely to get, they want to get everything from one source. And a lot of them, I've seen guys that go, I don't watch boxing. They never seem to really progress and to change their game, and they kind of just stay the same. And I feel like those type of fighters eventually are going to get beat because they don't evolve.
And I think you can get really good doing that, but there's also, like, if the only styles that you're seeing ever are the guys in your gym that you're sparring with, it's not going to take a lot for somebody to essentially show you something you've never seen before.
Yeah, it's not, because you're not really watching the sport. And I look at boxing like this, right? Like kind of like law. You ever see where they're like they cite other cases, Brown versus the Board of Education. The judge said that deliberated this. So if I'm fighting a guy, I'll look at a similar fight. I say, okay, I'm a tall southpaw. This guy is a left-handed fighter. He fights like I don't know Floyd Mayweather. I mean, watch Pacquiao Floyd. Look at our heights and go, okay, Pacquiao had great moments here.
You and your brother are Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, yeah, both from Brooklyn, man.
How would you describe like the current state of boxing in New York? Because it felt like there was a time maybe a couple of years ago where there was like a lot of boxing fitness gyms popping up, but then at the same time, it's like the real shit is having a hard time surviving. Where do you feel like it's at right now?
Boxing is in a because I think the youth is involved and they're interested in it and they feel like it's accessible enough and it's like as cool as any other sport again. Um, and people feel like I can just go to a gym and start boxing. So I think it's in a good place. I don't think New York has like we don't have that guy yet. You know, a lot of our guys kind of we don't have our guy because our guy always has to be like a Mike Tyson level of excitement, and as well as being a we either get like a good guy who's slick but doesn't really have the killer instinct or power to get that mass appeal, or we have a guy who can punch but he doesn't can't compete with high level opposition, and that's really our problem in New York. And there's so much going on, so people don't really care in a sense. Like you have to really, really grab everyone to get them to go. Oh, you're from New York, and this guy is the guy. So it's kind of hard.
I guess there's like an argument that Amanda Serrano is kind of the most exciting or most successful active fighter from New York right now. But I think everything you said is true. Like we haven't had that guy in a little bit. I thought it was going to be Edgar Berlanga for a second. He's kind of plateaued out. I think he can turn it around, but he's in an interesting spot right now. A lot of the fighters that another guy I was going to ask you about, I think maybe a little something about him. Where is Nikita Bobby at?
Yo, man. Nikita, like, I actually fought Nikita in the gloves,
I know I did
2017.
my homework. That's why I
He,
asked you.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Nikita's super talented, man. I don't know where he is. I don't know if it's a contractual situation. I don't know if it's a injury. Sometimes, and this what had got me. And he's like Nikita's super focused, man. Like one thing about Nikita, like he comes in the gym, you don't really know much about him. He just works. He doesn't really run his mouth. Super talented, fast, uh, sharp fighter. He definitely there's a place for him in boxing. I think people would like him. He has a ton of heart, but I don't know what they're doing with him. I definitely think he'll be world champion, but I don't really know what the plan is with him.
I remember like before the pandemic, he was fighting on the early part of the matchroom cards all the time. And I know we had a couple of fights
Yeah,
that were maybe not saying they were bad, but they weren't his best performances. And it seemed like he just hasn't been as active. I don't like you said, I don't know if that's a contract thing or if that's something he's dealing with personally or in the gym or whatever, or maybe something like you where he's injured and people just don't know about it.
yeah. If anything, I would think it's the injury thing. I think he's in a good place with Eddie Hearns. I think that every people seem to be happy with it. I think it's the right place for him, the right demographic. I think there's enough fights in New York going on that'll get him, people interested in him. The right demographic, like the even with his heritage, I think he can fight around, those that type of audience. Man, I just think that it must be an injury. I would guess, but
Who
he's a good fighter.
who are some of the New York prospects or kind of like the guys coming up right now that maybe aren't the big names yet, but are like the guys that are coming up that you think could be next?
The guys I think will be world champion. I think Richardson Hitchens. I think Nikita will be world champion. Uh, I believe uh, I like Jihad Tucker. I, I see him in the gym. He's looking really good.
Jaha is
It's going
awesome,
to take
man.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna take a couple years for him. But one day I can see that. Um, I know there's I like Peter Dobson. Peter Dobson is work with him. That's my guy. There's some other dudes out there that I'm just not thinking about right now. But those guys right there, I like them because I see them fight in front of. I've seen them compete against top level opposition, and they have the heart and they have the grit. Some guys are good depending on who they're fighting, and when they face adversity, I don't really. I've seen them in tournaments, and I was like, I just didn't really believe. I think the lights in the moment might get them.
Right. And that's always like one of those intangibles people don't think about, because I think sometimes people think of you guys as like a video game where you have X power, X speed. Like nobody thinks about how does somebody handle just like stage fright, or how do they handle, something that's going on in their life that has nothing to do with boxing or whatever. There's all these different intangibles that people aren't
Yes.
seeing.
Yeah, and that's it, man. It's only a thing you kind of learn when you're in the game. You kind of it's a lot of stories, Like you'll if you're around the scene, you'll kind of go, oh, okay, when so and so showed up, they stopped so and so in the gym, or they beat him up, or he punked out in the finals against so and so. His heart is not really all the way there because we see these wins and the pro stuff, but we don't see. Then you finally see at 20 something fights, 30 something fights. Oh wow, they fought this guy and got knocked out. Like, oh, he quit. And these are things that we see in the interest um, coming up, and coaches know, but the public doesn't get to know until it's that night. You know.
Right. Right, exactly. Um, so there was a bunch of fights this weekend. The first one I was kind of wanted to get your take on was, what was your take on what happened with Jarrett Hurd and his performance against Rosendez?
I'm a huge Jared Hurd fan.
Me too.
I think, man, I think what weight was that? Was that 68 day for that?
I think they did it at 60, like a catch weight. Maybe it was 62 or something.
I think that that fight was too tough to come back after half years off. I think he should have went to like Mexico, got a couple of good wins, and focused on keeping distance. And it was high risk, no reward with that kid. That was a fight used to build that kid up, and it was a changing of guards. And I just feel like the inactivity didn't help. He had good moments in it, but he's not sharp. Like what we expect. He's not. I don't know what we expected. And the guy was very similar to He used the same game plan that my man used. Geez, Luis Arias,
Yeah.
kind of the overhand rights, and I just think it was a bad fight, bad matchup for him, bad management, bad move.
He's in this weird spot where, like between the fights with Lara and J Rock, like he
Mm-hmm.
just got so much punishment in those two fights. And it's been like since then, I feel like he's trying to add these boxing tools and these different strategies, but he kind of it's like his bread and butter was just being a bulldozer. And if he takes punishment, he can take whatever amount, like he's just gonna outlast you. And then after the J Rock fight, I just feel like he hasn't had like an identity as a fighter. And then in this fight, he's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
he's got one foot in the door where he's like, yeah, I'm gonna box him, I'm gonna jab, but then he can't really commit to it. So it becomes an inside fight, and he's just I don't know. I was such a big fan of his, and at his peak, man, I mean, he's like one of the best 154 pounders in a hot minute.
He reminds me of it's reminding me of Kelly Pavlik, the situation where Kelly was doing his thing, mowing through everybody, just seemed stronger and just more determined and broke your will. But I thought that Jarrett had more dimensions when I watched the Frank Galarza fight, how slick he was. But I think that doing something for so long, he's kind of he needs a fight where he can use those tools and build confidence with those tools. A guy that he can get some rounds in, that can't really hurt him. But at the same time, he can slip some punches. He could take some chances. He can figure out the pockets of when I should box, when I should come forward. But I think they just keep putting him in there with these guys that are, I don't know if it's the money or what it is, but they're just too advanced to try those things with.
Right.
He should be in there with guys.
He's not in with guys where it's like this is a try shit out guy. Like that guy, even at
Mhm.
Hurd's best, he was gonna have to show up to beat that guy.
Yeah, yeah. He's like these Luis Arias, this kid was unknown, but he wasn't, he's not name brand, but he's tough. And that's where it's like, okay, let's get him 2, 3 fights to build his confidence up. His father has died. Why do we keep putting him in these type of fights where these guys are great sluggers? And we're trying to tell our guy not to slug, but they keep pinning him and getting him in bad position to slug. Can we get him in there with a guy that he can slip, that can't really doesn't have much punching power, that he can, shut him down with a right hand if he has to, but he'll be able to box and slip and win rounds. And that's just to me where let's go to Mexico and get 2, 3 fights. Let's go, like there's better matchmaking. I don't know what that was.
I mean, maybe they were just trying to see what they have, and they don't. But I agree. I think it was maybe it was too much too soon, and he's been very inactive. Not even just since his last fight, but really in the last like 4 years, he hasn't been very active. So if they're trying to genuinely rebuild him, I just wonder like if, like you said, he's doing one thing for so long. I don't know if you're going to change his style. I feel like all you can do is add to it and try to get him to maybe work his jab on the way in more so he's not just falling in and taking punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you have to just add to what he's doing. And I feel like especially these last couple and the Santana fight, they're like trying to make him a boxer, and it just like is completely against his instincts.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen him do it before, and that's what just really bugs me out so much. And I think maybe the guys are just too fast now. Maybe he just gained too much weight. Maybe he'd be better in a higher weight. It looks like he's really big. Maybe that's what it is. Sometimes when these guys are smaller and they're throwing those shots, they're just too quick. It's a couple of things I just wonder, but I wish Jared the best, man. Really good guy, and I hope he, maybe even a new trainer or something. I'd even go with that at this point.
You know
You
how
know,
fans are, bro. A lot of people are like, "Oh, he needs to retire after that." Da, da, da. What is your take on what he can do going forward?
I think that he can. I think that he's understand that. Look, it's 2.5 years off. These guys are active. These guys are fighting. Maybe that style that he's learning over there. I mean, who's he with now? He's still with uh Coach Coach K
I don't
and
think
them,
so.
like the
I don't think
Shakur
so.
team. Yeah, I saw some of the things he was learning, and I didn't feel like it was for him. And when I look at guys, this is a thing that happens in boxing, right? Freddie Roach is Pacquiao. Everybody runs over there and starts training with Freddie Roach, right? Freddie Roach runs out of time and he starts putting other trainers with you. So you're not really learning from Freddie Roach. You're learning from guys that are supposedly from the school of Freddie Roach. And you may see Freddie Roach a couple times, and you may see him on a night of the fight, and he's telling you to do certain things, and you're like, "Yo, whoa, dude, I haven't even seen you like that." And a lot of fighters that were under that followed Freddie Roach, right? And under Pacquiao, they don't have the same success as Pacquiao, and sometimes they come and they do worse. And I've seen it with Andre Ward was king, Virgil, and sometimes I saw fighters that just didn't look good. It will work for Andre Ward, not work for you. Floyd Mayweather Sr., Floyd Mayweather, same thing. Guys run to trainers that don't have the time, I feel like. Not that they can't really help you, but they don't always have the time, or maybe the skill set is just not matching. So, I think that you may need to look at that as well.
Yeah, I remember I was interviewing Blair Cobbs a while back, and he was talking about being at Wild Card and just like some of the long rounds of sparring they do. And Freddie Coach is like a really offensive coach, and that worked for Pacquiao, but it doesn't really work for everybody. And he was like, if you're not coming in there with the right mentality, you can actually take some punishment and hurt your career because they have a culture there of like fucked up hard sparring because Manny was built like that.
Yeah, everybody's not built for that. Everybody's not built for the Floyd Mayweather pads. Everybody's not. You can't be Andre Ward. And you got to find a trainer that's good for you, that goes with your style. It's not going to try that you can actually adapt to what he's saying. And there's new styles out now, and there's new guys that everybody wants to kind of that they think, oh wow, like I even look at I think that Shakur and them, they're doing a great job. But I don't think that Jared can use like Shakur's type of defense. That kid has uh he's more of a range type of guy. So it's more of hop out, hop in. His legs are very and he's not really a head movement type of fighter. He's not really like I'm slipping a pocket and slip 4 or 5 shots. But as for you'll see Tank kind of stand there and slip shots on the inside, right? Roll with
Right.
punches. That to me would be a better, I'd say, oh, okay, that coach may be better for you because there are Tank is boxing, but he's boxing at a different pace, stepping. He's not hopping in out of punches. So that's just an example of something that I saw. Like
Even like
certain
Canelo,
guys just don't have the genetics.
the way Canelo knows how to be on the front foot and keep his head off the center and bob punches like that. I always saw with Hurd, it's like keep him aggressive, but teach him some other defensive skills to where he's not just walking right into it every time.
Exactly, and I think that Eddie Reynoso that type of coach would be somebody good. Even Virgil Hunter probably be a better match. What's my man's name? They got some good fighters over there. Robert Garcia. They come at you and they come at you with some good defense. It's subtle. This is very subtle things, but it's good. Look at Jose Lopez was looking amazing for a while.
How did you feel about the main event between Brandon Figueroa and Martin Magsayo? It was a pretty fun fight. There was some weird things that happened during it, but it was entertaining. What was your take on Brandon's performance?
Man, I really thought Brandon was gonna knock him out, so I wasn't really excited about the fight. I didn't really think, but then I saw Marcel did a lot better than I thought, and at the end, I kind of was like, yeah, I don't know who got this one, but I see that to me, Brandon just got hit too much, and I'm more looking at the future, like okay, this style that he's using, I like that he boxes a little more, but he's gonna have to make better adjustments, and because the weight stuff is not. I don't know if it'll work in the future as far as I'm switching and I'm absorbing punches. Like he's gonna have to be a lot sharper.
Well, it's funny because I thought his
In
defense
the future.
looked better than it has in most of his fights. Like I
Yeah,
felt like
yeah.
he's kind of like Hurd, where he's one of those guys that kind of walks right into it, and he was just kind of more explosive than his brother, so he was winning at a higher level. But like beating Luis Neri is a great win, but
That was.
that was a great fight. But I think in this fight, Magsayo is a fast guy, hits pretty hard, good counter puncher. Like it was just a style that was kind of meant for Magsayo. What did you think of the point deductions? Because I'm no fan of clinching, but it's a physical inside fight. Like it just seemed like he was over asserting himself. No,
I think there's agendas out there. I think there's people that have been invested in, and I think a lot of these refs come in there knowing that. And I think that there's bias. They want to get to the next fights they want to get to so they can make money. So they did what they had to do, and I think that it was just it was just bull crap. I didn't think that it was necessary. Nothing seemed yeah, this was unnecessary. Boxing needs universal rules. Coaches have to be a discipline better. But you see that in every sport, really, where it's like, well, but boxing is the only sport that really doesn't have rules, like that. So, like we saw my man hit Chris Eubanks that elbow, and it's like got knocked out with elbow. So elbow started it, but it's kind of like if it hits you and we don't see it, it's okay, and you still got knocked out. But it's like, was it a knockout or was it an elbow? It's sad, man.
Well, it's almost like there's rules, but there's these it's, we have it in America where every state has its own rules. And then you go over to the UK and like every part of the UK has their own, Ireland has a different rule from Great Britain, it's all this subdivided shit, to where you can kind of customize the kind of fight you want to have in a weird way.
It's just too much wiggle room in boxing. It's a lot of wiggle room to make what you need to happen. That's kind of like the issue. It's just a lot of wiggle room, and that's the way they like it. In boxing, because if I invest in a guy, right, and let's say I have a guy who's 30-0, right, I invested in him from the grassroots. I probably spent $1 million on that fighter. The fighter sells tickets, and I have this other guy who's probably paid for his opponents, came up the hard way, has a couple losses, doesn't sell near any tickets. They're fighting each other. I'm the promoter for the event, but I'm forced to have these guys fight because of the belt organizations. I'm going to lose out on $1 million investment, and my company is going to go under if you beat my guy. And this guy is on a 3-year contract with someone else, and it's close. And really remember the judges, the judges, the referee, the athletic commission, they're getting a percentage of the gate. So it's incentivized for them to go with the person that it's as simple as, hey, look, we're in Atlanta, we're in Vegas, right? Hey, Canelo's going to be fighting 3 more times in Vegas. Who
Right.
we
Right. So as many circumstances as possible that can go the right way for that to continue. And then the irony of it, when the point deductions happen, I wound up scoring it, I think, 6 rounds to 6. So it would have been a draw if not for the point deductions. And then the judges have it 10 rounds to 2 and 9 rounds to 3. So it was like they're not even fucking watching the fight. But if you know what you're watching, you know that the points really did make a difference in that fight. It's just unfortunate that it's like and my buddy was actually saying, interesting, it's like when you get out into LA and certain parts of California, you got that machismo, Mexican fan base that wants action. And if there's any clinching, they're gonna boo, they're gonna throw shit, whatever might happen. And the ref is like, oh, I gotta nip this in the bud right now.
but it's that fan base is going so strong in boxing. The support, they're stars because everybody wants to see someone who looks like them doing something, right? That they can identify with. They're like, oh, that guy's from Jersey. I'm from Jersey. Oh, what? He grew up just like me. I identify with him. I'm gonna get behind him. So the Mexican fan base has those guys. So they're doing incredible numbers and they're selling stuff out, you know? And other than the reason why boxing was kind of suffering, we didn't have guys that identify with us on our media platforms. So as far as even when I was going to sign deals, one of my main questions was, hey, how are you going to promote me? And you can't promote a fighter from my demographic like a fighter from another demographic. If I go on, you know, if I go on one of those soap operas, one of those Spanish soap operas, Telemundo, that's not going to work for me. Like they're going to be like, who's this guy? He doesn't even speak Spanish, right? But it's
Right.
going to have somewhere that's going to promote me, and people that of my demographic, it might not work on BT. They might not take the Dakota on there. So it would be smarter to put people in places that are going to help them to grow, and then when they get past that place, then you put them everywhere else. You spread them out the world. So that's the big problem. And when you have a guy, Brandon Figueroa's fighting, he got to win this fight because he sells out. He's selling tickets over here, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, and I thought that unfortunately, I thought Mark Magsayo put up a really good fight. He's got two losses in a row, but it's to two of the best fighters in the weight class. I just hope that he gets another shot, another opportunity, because I think he's a really talented guy too.
He's very good, but they're not stopping that Brandon Figueroa and Reyes for nobody.
Yeah, I mean that's a great fight too. How do you feel about a fight between Figueroa and Ray Vargas?
Dude, I think Ray Vargas beats him. I think as long as he doesn't have the ghost from Mashaki Foster. But I think he beats him. Ray does make certain mistakes when you get close to him, but I think he's just has a lot of he's smart, he's slick enough, he got enough pop. I think he beats oh no, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm gonna go Brendan Figueroa. I think that Brendan Figueroa wins a split decision, kind of like like a robbery. I think they're gonna give it to Brendan Figueroa.
I think I could fucking see that happening too, bro. I mean, that's just boxing, but I think the style, like Foster did such a great job of range against Vargas. Like anytime Ray would start throwing something, it was like he was just out of reach, even though Ray's taller. And then when he stepped in, it was like he was right on the fucking money every time. Um, but I think Figueroa's style kind of is made for Vargas a little more, where Vargas thrives more when a guy's just coming right to him and he can just jab and counter and move around the ring. But I think it's a good fight for boxing.
It is a good fight. I think it's a good fight. It'll be entertaining. I think Ray's gonna exchange enough. That kid, look, that kid Brandon it gets you into a war. Once you're in a war, it's kind of hard to get out of one. So he has to fight discipline. But I feel like they're gonna give it to Brandon. I think that it's just he has more money behind him. He's younger. Has a
More
look.
marketable style.
Yeah, more marketable style. I just feel like you gotta ask yourself a question. Two questions in boxing. Who's really gonna win and who they're gonna give it to? So it's like who's really gonna win the fight, but who they're gonna give the fight to. And I think who's really gonna win the fight is Ray Vargas. I think who they're gonna give it to is gonna be Brendan Figueroa.
So you see it like a 7-5 fight for Vargas that they throw the other way. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah. Yep. You gotta beat a guy. You're gonna have to beat him. He's gonna have to beat him like to win, like 8-2. Like eight, that's 8-2, like 8-4. Like he's gonna have to really do something extravagant to win that fight. He's not getting that win, maybe even 10-2. He's not leaving there with no close victory from uh-uh.
I agree, bro. And I guess the last thing I'll say about Figueroa is to his credit, even though he definitely has defensive flaws and whatever, he's building a nice little resume for himself, man. Like he's fought Luis Neri, beat Neri with a knockout, great fight with Stephen Fulton, Carlos Castro, now Mark Magsayo. I mean, for a young guy, man, he's fighting a who's who of his weight neighborhood.
He is, man. He's like a clone of his brother. I'm so entertained and impressed, man. I just wish that didn't matter so much, so people can just get in there and have fights and just test their abilities. But unfortunately, it's all about the winning streak.
Where do you think that fixation comes from? Because how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, so I'm 29. So we grew up in the same general era of boxing. Like, I didn't feel like being undefeated mattered when we were young. And at some point, maybe it was Floyd, maybe it was a bunch of different things. Maybe it was Chavez, being 90-0 or whatever. But why do you think that matters so much in boxing now when you and I both know a guy that's fought a bunch of world-class fighters and takes a couple L's, like they're just learning and getting better from that.
I think I definitely gotta test it to Floyd Mayweather. And then I think that Mike Tyson, his invincibility. I think these guys have just started using the word invincible, and it's something like, and I remember when I was younger, right? I'd watch a fight, I'd be like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And I'd be like, what? He has a loss. When did that happen? Even Bernard Hopkins, like, Bernard has a loss? I never had paid attention to it until like I was 15. Like, who did Bernard lose to? And I was like, oh wow, way back, Roy Jones beat him? Oh man, but I think that the best in that pound for pound list, pound for pound, the best in the world, and we start doing like fantasy boxing now. We're like, yo, this guy will beat that guy because he never lost to anybody. So he has the ultimate style, and it's just like who has the ultimate style and is the master of boxing. And it was just Floyd just really embodied it. Like, yeah, you like him, he's better than me, but no one could beat me. And that's just a very big statement to say.
Which
Like,
is the irony too, because Floyd did lose to Castillo the first time. I mean, that
hey, I think there's a couple of times that I think that fight, I think Madonna, I
first one
think
was very close.
I think I see a couple fights and definitely Castillo. I didn't think and it happens. You're not gonna feel good every night. It just sometimes punches don't land, man. You're off. It happens in the gym.
And Ben, he was a a beneficiary of boxing politics, like all the things you were talking about. It's like, well, Floyd's got the 19 fight deal with Showtime, so we're not going to fuck it up on fight three or what, whatever. But that he definitely benefited from those politics. That's why I feel like the O is just an illusion because even the people that have it, it's not real.
It's not. It's not real. And yeah, yo, man, the Oscar De La Hoya fight, that was close, man. I was like,
Razor
oh,
thin.
I was like, how did he get this win? It wasn't like I couldn't see why Floyd won. I was just like, damn, but Oscar's letting his hands go, Floyd. Like you're on the ropes, man. I've lost amateur fights from the same thing, you know?
Right. Right. And imagine had Oscar been the either the betting favorite or just the favorite in general. How many times have you seen the B side fight Floyd's fight and they give it to Oscar? That shit happens all the time, you know? Like it's
Yeah,
just that was who benefits more from the politics of boxing that night.
yo, man, I could not understand it, but I was like, wow, Floyd won. I'm like, oh, now did I think that Floyd won if I watched the fight over and over again, a little shots he's letting him, oh, uppercut, right hand, oh, that really didn't hit him. But yeah, in real time, those punches like they were hitting him. I'm like, how could a ref really sit there and like really? It kind of should be maybe like rap battling, or they should kind of watch the fight and then come up with the winner because it's very hard and in real time to decide who's the winner because uh, punches like they're landing.
And people don't understand too. Let's say Floyd loses to Oscar, loses the first one to Maidana, loses the first one to Castillo, and retires 47-3. He's still one of the greatest fighters of all time. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but his thing is the greatest. So when he was going for something totally different. It was a great marketing strategy, and it just made sense. Because the guy was the economy of Vegas, man. Like he really was bringing so much money to Vegas. I mean, you look at Vegas now, it's more of hey, we have art, we have gambling, we have girls, and then we have pretty much nothing else. But these big fights are bringing in people visiting for different reasons, and it ain't you're not there to watch a artist over the hill who has the rest of the residency. You're there to watch something that's present. So it was hard to stop that money from coming in. There's other things involved.
So a fight that's happening this weekend that I'm excited about: Tim Tszyu versus Tony Harrison. Any thoughts or picks on that one?
So I initially saw this fight being made, man, and I go, oh, Tony's gonna blow him out, But something, man, in my spirit, I watched Tony fight the last fight, and I said to myself, that guy, tough. Um, got the guy he fought. I first saw that guy fight the towering Inferno, Fundora, right? The 6'7"
Sergio Garcia.
Garcia. And I was like, Fundora ain't that good. This guy is just like, he ain't stop this guy. And then I saw him fight Tony Harrison. I saw him get to places and get in certain distances with Tony that I didn't feel Tony comfortable. I didn't like to see Tony in those positions. And then Tony had that fight with I can't remember this guy's name. He had a draw
I think it was
with
Perella.
he had a draw with Corella. And then I'm looking at Zoo, his momentum. And I'm kind of saying to myself, is this the same Tony Harrison that fought Charlo the first time? And can he hurt Tim Tszyu, or can he trick Tim Tszyu and show him so many different looks that he's just always one step behind? And I'm not sure if Tim Tszyu doesn't land that bomb.
I feel like Tim Zoo is kind of underrated, man, because I feel like he gets the his pops was famous treatment, but he didn't really get have like from what I've read and seen in interviews, they don't have much of a relationship. So Tim Zoo's come up was separate from his champion father. I think Tim Zoo's a bad boy. I think he's kind of similar to Brian Castano. There's times where like he even reminds me of a young Triple G, the way he's got the good foot pressure and he's not terrible on the defense. Like I'm a big Tony Harrison fan, but I feel like even if the guy that showed up to fight Jarrett Hurd shows up, I think it's gonna be a similar result. Like I see for me, I see issues with focus for a full 12 with Tony.
Yeah. I see. Tony just makes. I love Tony Harrison, man. He's so good for boxing. I think he's super talented. You
Slick
know,
as hell, bro. Slick as hell.
slick as hell, but sometimes it's decision making. When I watched the Charlo fight, I said to myself, I said, Tony, you're doing too much. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Put it to him. He just had no respect for him. He just was like he just like sometimes flies a little too close to the sun. And I'm like, Tony, you're winning. Just pull back, please. And the left
Right,
hook
he was
land.
winning that second fight when he got stopped.
He was dogging him, and it was like he kind of said, "I'm gonna stop him." It's like he just got man, like it's like I don't know if you ever watched this. You around the same age. You know about Dragon Ball Z?
Bro, come on, son.
Okay, right. So I don't know if you was a nerd like me, but you ever see Vegeta? He just like he Vegeta got the power up, and he's just so strong, and he's just beating up the bad guy. He could kill the bad guy. And he starts to feel himself. And he's like, I'm the legendary Super Saiyan, and nobody can
Yeah.
on. And the guy gains extra, gets escapes, and he says, "Go ahead, get more power, and come back and fight me." And the guy comes and beats up Vegeta. It's like that. I'm like, why, man? Just freaking, you know, get the win. And I'm like, this time will Tony do that, or will Tony fight discipline and beat this guy? And I'm kind of I don't know.
I see a similar outcome to the Harrison Hurd fight. I think it'll be about round 10 or 11, and it'll be either even or Tony will be up a little bit. And I just think he'll have less gas than Zoo, and Zoo will either stop him or find a way to drop him and win a decision. But I think this fight took fucking forever because they were supposed to do Charlo and Tim Zoo, which would have been a massive fight. This is kind of the replacement because Charlo broke his hand. But yeah, I think this is a great fight.
Yeah, it's man, it's a good fight. It's a good fight. I'm watching Tim Tszyu. It's just a thing of I don't know who Tim Tszyu is really. If Tim Tszyu has heart and is there's intangibles that we don't see, he's a bad dude. If Tim Tszyu is really a guy, and I saw his opposition, there hasn't been anything crazy. If Tim Tszyu is
Ron
really not,
O'Shea is a good fighter.
I think he's a good fighter. I think he's a good fighter. But if Tim Tszyu is on the level of champion, or let's talk about more, he can unify. Is he on that level? Is Tim Tszyu a great fighter? And I think today we're going to not today, we're going to see that. We're going to see, is Tim Tszyu a great fighter? I think Tony Harris is a great fighter. I think Charlo's a great fighter. Where is he at in there? So we're going to see. It's going to be interesting. I would bet my uh, Australia. Dang, it's so much against Tony, man. I'm gonna go with Tony Harrison. I'm gonna go with Tony. I'm gonna go with
Hey,
Tony.
listen, bro, and if he wins that fight, it kind of puts him in Hall of Fame conversation. Honestly, to at this point in his career, if he beat this kid, it really would.
I think it would, man. If he beats this guy and gets that fight with Charlo again and beats Charlo, man, I think Tony
I
out.
think in general he hasn't gotten enough credit because he's got those couple L's, but that's also just comes with the territory of fighting at the top for years, for 10 years.
154 is the hardest division. I'm at 154, man. It's guys low. It's high risk, low reward. Anybody can beat anybody. I look at 154 pounders as the junior middleweight speed and power, speed and power. Most men, you know, they're walking around at 180 and they get into 150, 154 pounds, and they're fighting. I mean, the other weight classes are kind of far and few between. You kind of can mold through everybody else and then get to, the finals. But this weight class is like, nah, man. You got like look at Erickson, right? Erickson is super talented, man. I boxed her dope, but at 21 years old, he fought Charlo, right? He lost to Fondora. If Erickson was at 135 or 147 or at heavyweight, he'd be freaking the man.
Shit, at
But
middleweight, bro. There's nobody at middleweight. Lubin could get a title at middleweight right now for sure.
yeah, but 154, oh man, there's so many freaking guys, and you got to fight. You got to really beat somebody to get up there, man. Charlo got a loss in 154. So it's hard, man.
Speaking of you being at 154, you said you were coming back April 22nd. Do you know the opponent? Do you know where it's going to be? Where can people find more information? All the things.
And we're still piecing it together. It's looking like it's going to be in Colombia. We don't have an opponent yet, but we'll get all that closer into the month. I'm just closer to the fight. I'm just happy about training, feeling good. I'm sparring again, feeling like myself. And it just was a hard surgery, man. A hard time, And I feel for everybody who gets these road, labrum tears. Like Lomachenko had one against the
Pacquiao.
yeah, Pacquiao had one with Floyd. Lomachenko had one with Teofimo. It's a hard injury, man. But we coming back.
Did you have it on both sides?
Yeah, yeah. So I had
Mhm.
I had on both sides, but I had two on actually one shoulder. So it took a while to get everything together, and it was tough because after the first surgery, I didn't know. I was like, "What's wrong? Like, why I don't feel better?" And it took some time went by, and it was like, "Yo, it's another tear in there." So we got to it. It wasn't even that it was so bad; it was that it happened during the pandemic, and it was hard to get the physical therapy. My doctor disappeared, so it was just like, oh, like, it was a very weird time in my life, man. But I'm just thankful to be back in the gym, man.
How long did it take you of training and working your way back to kind of start feeling like yourself again?
Man, once the shoulder felt good, it was like, which was like 2 weeks ago. I felt like I got in the gym, sparred. I felt great, man. Like I didn't gain any weight. Like I kept eating well. Um, I felt good. I felt like I've been, I felt like I was boxing this whole time, but I just hung out and went like, on a vacation. I'm coming back off vacation. That's how I felt. I didn't feel like it was weird and surreal. Uh, that was good.
Well, congratulations on that. I guess the last thing I want to ask you is what are some of the matchups that you're looking forward to going forward?
For myself or for like other fighters.
Fuck
Uh,
it, both.
in boxing, oh man, I would love to for myself. Um, Eventually, man, I would love to like with be early next year. I love a fight with Charlo. I would love a fight with Tim Zoo. Trying to think of someone else I would love. Anybody even below that level, just a elite level fight. But definitely like the Charlo fight. I think that it would be a great build up. I think that I'm gonna do my part in becoming like the premier fighter. Being from New York and having the knockouts and just the brilliant performances and being an attraction. I think that fight will be very big because of his attitude, all he's done. And then eventually he'll need a dance partner, or he'll have to go up to 160 because he's really gotten through everybody. And I think for the it will be good. It would just be really, really, really great and have that fanfare.
Yeah, a
Maybe
fun fight would be you and Xander. You and Xander Zayas. I think that would be a great matchup.
yeah, Xander would be a good fight too. Yeah, Xander's a cool guy. I met Xander. He's at 4. He's at 54 now. Yeah, Xander. I think he'll be like a guy that he's taking that spot, like that Miguel Cotto spot. Him doing well, and me being from New York, that'll be a great fight. Um, yeah, man, I'm open for anything, man. Just dominance and get into the Hall of Fame, man. Like that's really the the goal, unifying the division, just putting on great fights, man. Just that's really what I want to do. Some of the fights I also would love to see. I'm interested in the Tank Garcia fight. I think I think that'll be good. That's going to be a very, very good fight. And I'm just interested in how Tank's going to get close to him, and can he, like, how prolific is Ryan Garcia's power? How good is Tank's defense? How well can Ryan Garcia take a punch? The thing I kind of worry about in the fight is like, okay, I see Tank using his defense, but will Tank be able to get under the left hook? And I think if he takes the left hook away, I think Tank, the right hand is not too much of a problem for him. You know, and can he land that? What is Tank gonna land? I think we'll really, really see a lot about Tank in this fight. But I look at the Mario Barrios fight, and it gave me a lot of confidence
For
for the
Ryan.
yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence for when he's gonna fight Ryan, because I really watched Mario Barrios, and I think Floyd was hard on him, but I was like, it was a brilliant performance in the sense of he just read the combinations, the 1, 2, 3, and the biggest thing about this fight I think is that Ryan developed the uppercut.
Right. And I think the other thing too is it, like, can Ryan on some level maintain his range? Because I just feel like he kind of walks right in, and that's how he got dropped against Campbell. If he walks right in against Tank, I feel like it's not going to be that hard for Tank to land. But if he can use his size and his height even a little bit, I do think it's a hard fight for Davis.
I think Ryan, when he gets you hurt or he attacks you, he squares up. I think that's and the same thing Rollies did. He squares up when you're on the ropes. He's aggressive and he punches. And I watched when he fought the guy from Africa, Game Boy. Game Boy was able to move. He wasn't able to cut off the ring with Game Boy. And I like Tank's lunging right hook. I like Tank's attacks and the way he holds. I like Tank's patience. I don't want him to be too patient. And his power is that last fight with Garcia. I was like, wow, that was a one shot and just stopped the whole show. So I'm a believer. I'm like, this kid's power must be insane. And you've seen Christopher Colbert hit him and nothing happened. So you know, we gotta look at that and say, yo, if he hits Ryan with that, like, what is gonna happen? I just think that, man, I think Tank is turning his eye towards the whole division. I think that if he knocks out Ryan Garcia, I think he just collected, two of the Infinity Stones, and he may be coming for the rest of them. Because I don't see who would be able to really stop him if he can. It'll be hard. I think Devin has good size, right? I think Devin got a chance, but it's another aspect to it that I'm looking at. I think Ryan will be dangerous up into 6 rounds. I think he'll start being weight drained. I think that making that weight is going to be very hard on him, and he will not retain the punches well.
Yeah, and the 136 thing is so weird. Like that extra pound is, I mean, it does make a difference. I know once you get that low, it does make a difference, but it seems like a real kind of nitpicky thing for a fight of that level.
And all of them are going to have to. He's going to be a megastar, and all the guys are going to have to start coming into like Tank's world at that 135 limit. And I think that when the rounds start going by, he starts putting that pressure. I think that I don't know who can stop him from getting close and landing those shots. I just think that, you know, he's a healthy guy. He's good at 135. I don't think he's probably going to max out at 140, maybe 147. And these guys are,
He's so small for 147. I mean, maybe he could do a Pacquiao, but I think he's like 5'5". I don't know how he would hang with, some of these guys at welterweight are so big.
they are. I don't think he'll be like the man at 147, but I think he can mess around, get a belt over there. I think 140 would probably be the most he'd want to really, really go into, because I think it's a chance of him being outboxed. by just longer guys and guys that could take his punch a little better. But the way he's punching, man, I mean, you saw he hurt Mario Vargas pretty bad, man. And, Mario did good with Thurman. He didn't he got hurt a little bit, but he didn't get knocked out. And he stopped him. So I'm like, wow, like this kid is really, I see him knock out some couple guys from New York too out here. So he's punching, man.
But the dream fight is, to me, would be the winner of Tank and Garcia against the winner of Haney and Lomachenko if that fight ever gets announced. But I feel like if they're going to do it like that as a tournament, I think we'll know who the best lightweight in the world is by then.
I think we would, man. I think we would. I think that should happen. Those guys should get it in, and the confidence is going to be crazy because you got if Devin. I think people are kind of thinking. I see Devin winning. Devin should win. I see Devin should be able to win that fight just because of just genetics. Like I think he's just bigger and longer. I think Loma is kind of like he's really capping out. So I think the only thing that's really bothered Loma is the size.
Yep.
I think he's probably the best fighter at that weight, but I think that the size is what will stop him, and I think that Devin is smart enough to so keep him on the end of his punches. 1, 2, 3, jab, 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 jab. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and he has the energy to keep that up and box. With a lot of discipline for 12 rounds, and I think it'll just be hard for Loma on the points, as far as when it comes to points to catch up. And I think Loma kind of just is looking for that left hand, looking for that lead left hand. If Devin can get away from that, I see Devin being able to win on points, and I see him and Tank. But Tank knocking out Ryan that's gonna be a different Tank. He's gonna feel like, yo, I'm just because I think the wins against Rolly and Ryan, I think will be incredible wins. And being Garcia, I mean Garcia, Chris Cobra was doing his thing, and people thought that that was going to be one of them guys, and he knocked him out easily whenever he felt like it, and then he knocked out Rolly, who was kind of we have videos of him and Ryan, and he was beating up a lot of guys that Floyd Mayweather gym. Rolly was a terror. Like Rolly wasn't the best fighter, but he was like a Mayorga. Like he was, a problem. The guys were scared of him. So he knocks out those three monsters. I just feel like it's a hard Tank to beat.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
It's tough.
Justin, we've been doing this for a minute. Is there anybody, anything, anyone, anywhere you want to shout out before we wrap this one up?
Man, Dakota, I'm gonna shout you out, man, for having me on the show, man. I really enjoyed myself. Man, that's really it, man. I want to shout out my coach, Yoel Judah, man Zab Judah, my brother. You got to come up over here and show next time and talk a little boxing, so you could teach him something. That's pretty much it, man. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I woke up this morning. And that's about it, man. I just thank you for having me, man. Got to have you on our show.
I would love to, man. Anytime. If for anybody watching, check out the Bigs versus Bigs podcast, the ultimate sibling rivalry. It's a great show. It's two professional fighters talking boxing, so they know what they're talking about. Quick shout out to my guy James Oliva for putting this together. Totally legitimate business podcast. He's great. I really appreciate your time, bro. Thank you.
Yeah, shout out my man James. Listen, James, without James, I wouldn't have a show, man. I almost forgot James, Valerie, all the people that just the day to day that make us look so great on the Bigs versus Big show. Man, we love you guys, and that's it.
Justin Biggs, everybody, thank you so much, bro. We'll talk soon. All right.
Get easy, man. Much love, man.